and I'm managing my
That's very
fallout
important.
shelter because I wasn't sure how long you were going to be.
Oh, right.
And my guys are fighting off radioactive cockroaches right now, so
Sure.
let them finish that. Give them stim packs so that they don't die. Wow, he is
That'd be
fighting it
good.
all by himself. You should just, like, leave.
Eh.
Oh, it's not red roaches. It's moles. Even more dangerous.
If
Radioactive
you say
moles.
so.
Well, I mean, I think it's easy enough to say like how a large radioactive mole would be deadlier than a large radioactive cockroach.
Oh,
Although,
I mean, yeah, I guess the
no,
cockroach is
the
more
cock
durable.
yeah, the cockroaches are like the same size as the moles actually, so they'd probably be like stronger.
The well, I, they probably would be actually unable to move.
That's true. They'd probably be dead because cockroaches and
There's a reason
exoskeletons.
exoskeletons don't exist on things bigger than like Goliath beetles.
Um, like except in the water, because like they have like
Well, yeah, no, water's a different thing.
big
Is
crabs
your
and
fallout
stuff, but
shelter underwater? Why is your fallout shelter underwater?
it's not. It's not
Well,
underwater.
then the cockroaches can't move.
Right.
Science.
Science has no place in science fiction.
Apparently.
Okay. Now let me get my book back out.
Chapter 33. Darcy's weird behavior gets even weirder.
Right, because he just keeps
Chapter
talking to her.
34.
Darcy's weird
Darcy's weird
behavior.
behavior reaches its peak.
So I have to admit that last week when we were talking about the thing happening in chapter 34, I had forgotten that this
Uh-huh.
thing happens.
Really?
I thought it was the thing with the soldier guy.
With Wickham?
Yeah, I thought it was the thing with Wickham. And I was like, but it's too early in the story for that, isn't it?
That explains why you thought it was way too early for that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I
Because it
totally
is way
forgot.
too early for that.
Yeah, I totally forgot that this thing happened. And so I was like, what? A little bit.
Right? Well, that's good though, because like it should be a total out of nowhere shock from the blue.
Yeah, no, like I knew in 34 when the doorbell or the door knock, like someone knocked at the door, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be Mr. Darcy and it's gonna be weird. But I was like, wait, what? Did he just propose? Did she just did Jane Austen just write
Did he
that in
just
like one
give
sentence?
the most awkward marriage proposal ever?
Oh my
So
gosh.
you should know
I
that
thought
you were
my
a
marriage
terrible
proposal
match
was
for me
awkward.
in every possible way. And I despise the idea of being with you. Will you marry me?
Yeah,
Like,
but I can't help loving you despite all of that. So
beside
we
how
should get married,
horrible.
right? No, you know what?
But
You know
how did
what?
he?
I feel like at this point Elizabeth has like it's not this is my headcanon on this one. I feel like Elizabeth is maybe starting to wonder if it's her. Like like
Yes.
like disgusting guys not only propose, but they just sort of assume that she's going to accept. Like
uh, expressing his hope that it would now be rewarded by her acceptance of his hand. And
yeah.
Elizabeth's just like, in what possible world do you imagine that I accept? No.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, and I get the feeling that it is pretty unusual for a woman to not take the first offer. Just because, especially in her situation where if she doesn't get married, she's going to be begging in the streets.
Right, right. Like, oh man. No, and I
But
love
yeah,
I love that at the end of the chapter where it's like she continued in very agitated reflections till the sound of Lady Catherine's carriage made her feel how unequal she was to encounter Charlotte's observation, and hurried her away to her room. Now, on the one hand, you're just like, okay, she just doesn't want to talk to anybody right now. But on the other hand, Charlotte's the one who got married for money, and
right.
I can only imagine that Charlotte would be like, yeah, he's an asshole, but like he's like really rich, and you don't necessarily
He's
have to be around him
super
all the time.
rich.
Like he's like the richest guy
Right?
you've ever seen.
He has a really big house. You can avoid him pretty easily.
Yeah, like why would you not take that?
Also, Charlotte has been low-key shipping Lizzie and Darcy for a little while now.
Well, yeah, no,
and
she totally has been.
And
So
Elizabeth's like, she's going to be like, at some point, this conversation is going to have to happen. Elizabeth's going to be like, so Darcy came over and proposed to me. And Charlotte's going to be like, I told you he was into you. I told you.
Knew it.
Right? And
Oh,
so
gosh.
I can totally see why Elizabeth is not up to dealing with.
Yeah. So much in love as to wish to marry her, in spite of all the objections which had made him prevent his friends marrying her sister, and which must appear at least with equal force in his own case, was almost incredible.
Well, and I appreciate that she's using incredible in its literal sense, because it is incredible, like it's insane, but in its literal, like, unbelievable.
Yeah,
like you have to believe it.
Yeah,
he
it
just
happened,
went through a really awkward 20 minutes to express this. He would not do that if it wasn't true.
The thing that I don't understand is, like, and I'm sure this is going to come out later, like, so chapter 33 was all about like, okay, like Darcy's behavior gets weird, but then like but then she actually talks to Fitzwilliam and figures out that Darcy was the one
that broke up Jane and
Bingley, not Bingley's sister.
Right, or at least not primarily Bingley's sister.
Right.
If Darcy's relation of the situation is accurate, which Elizabeth is not inclined to credit, but also she's inclined to hate him, and she can hate him better if his description of the situation is accurate. So now she doesn't know what to believe.
Yeah, but like at this point, Darcy doesn't look very good in the story.
No, he looks like a very bad man.
Like,
well, and she does. I think Austen does a great job of getting you like seriously pissed off at Darcy. Like you're sitting there like, and then, okay, yeah, Elizabeth is deliberately working herself up here. Like Elizabeth, as if intending to exasperate herself as much as possible against Mr. Darcy, chose for her employment the examination of all the letters Jane had written to her.
Yes.
And yeah, she's working herself up, but you're also pretty like irritated with Darcy when he walks in. And I love that. And you can see like she's still pissed off. Like she's having trouble even being polite to him. And he just out of nowhere bursts into, "You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." And she's like, "What?"
Anytime that phrasing,
keep using that word.
Yeah. Anytime that structure gets used, I'm always like, "You must allow me to whatever." I'm always like, "Must I? Really?"
I was thinking the same thing. Like, I actually don't think I have to come down to it.
No, I don't think I do. I don't think that's required of me to allow you to do what you want to do. You're telling me I have to, but I don't know about that.
I don't think well, especially if that conversation she had with Colonel Fitzwilliam about, I don't think there's anyone who likes getting his way as much as Mr. Darcy does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then, and then to go literally, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 iPhone pages between
Mm-hmm.
between what he told me was merely this, that he congratulated himself on having lately saved a friend from the inconveniences of a most imprudent marriage. Between
Yes.
that and you must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you, and his sense of her inferiority, of its being a degradation, of the family obstacles which had always opposed to inclination, were dwelt on with a warmth which seemed due to the consequence he was wounding, but was very unlikely to recommend his suit. And it's like, he just, like, that doesn't make any sense that he would fall and want to marry her
even more.
And then when she goes off and she's like, you broke up my sister for everything that you're saying you're in love with here.
Right?
Like,
what? Account for yourself.
This is really not looking good for you, buddy.
He is so genuinely shocked when she's like, hell no?
Yeah.
Not in a million years, not in a million lifetimes?
Yeah.
What would even make you think that was a possibility?
Yeah. And I oh my gosh, like her whole first paragraph, her response is that in such cases as this, it is, I believe, the established mode to express a sense of obligation for the sentiments avowed, however unequally they may be returned. It is natural that obligation should be felt, and if I could feel gratitude, I would now thank you, but I cannot. I have never desired your good opinion, and you have certainly bestowed it most unwillingly. I am sorry to have occasioned pain to anyone. It has been most unconsciously done, however, and I hope will be of short duration. The feelings which you tell me have long prevented the acknowledgement of your regard can have little difficulty in overcoming it after this explanation.
I know, she just goes like right in.
She's
well,
like,
and I think it's really interesting. In most like movies, most fanfic, most romance novels, you would definitely have a lot of like you would go into detail about the, about his, like, it's the marriage proposal. You talk, like, you do all the dialogue all the way through. You write a speech. You've got like 4 pages of marriage proposal, exactly word for word, everything he said. She has 2 paragraphs that describe it without actually
right.
a single word of what he actually says. And then when we get into the fight scene, then we start doing, like, most of Austen is dialogue. That's how she operates. She mostly just relays people's conversations, and from that you have to pick up the character and the whatever. She never describes a conversation. She always does dialogue, except for the marriage proposal.
Right.
And then when they start fighting, then she starts going word for word and dwelling lovingly on every sentence they fling at each other.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. And he doesn't do a lot of talking in this one. Like,
that's true. Well, yeah, and I get that. Like, I would not want to argue with Elizabeth in full force either, to be honest.
I know. Like, it's his complexion became pale with anger, and the disturbance of his mind was visible in every feature. He was struggling for the appearance of composure, and would not open his lips till he believed himself to have attained it. And then at length he said, "And this is all the reply which I am to have the honor of expecting. I might perhaps wish to be informed why, with so little endeavor at civility, I am thus rejected. But it is of small importance." He's
Right.
like, I
That
guess
was
I could know why you don't want to marry me, but like, and why you're being like so rude about this.
right. And you couldn't even fake being polite about it.
Right. You couldn't even
And
just like
she's
tell
like,
me
well,
no,
you
but I
could have
guess it.
faked being polite, right?
You could have.
And she's like, well, you could have faked being polite about the marriage proposal.
Right.
At least a little.
And then later you could have faked being polite about anything at all in your life.
That is, yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. Why, with so evident a desire of
And
offending and insulting me, you chose to tell me that you liked me against your will, against your reason, and even against your character. Was this not some excuse for incivility if I was uncivil?
but I have other provocations. I have every reason in the world to think ill of you. That's pretty harsh there.
That is really direct. I have every reason in the world to think ill of you.
And then he's like, well, you know, I could have had I with greater policy concealed my struggles and flattered you into the belief of my being impelled by unqualified, unalloyed inclination. But disguise of every sort is my abhorrence. And he's, you know, and she's like, no, trust me, it was not the manner of your proposal that makes me turn you down. I have despised you from like the very first moment I saw you. I had not known you a month before I felt you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed on to marry.
Right. And then she said, like, she talks about, she's like, you broke up my sister and Bingley. And she's like, can you deny it? And he said, I have no wish of denying that I did everything in my power to separate my friend from your sister, or that I rejoice in my success. Towards him, I have been kinder than towards myself. And it's like, wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
So you still even right now, right here in the room where you not 5 minutes ago proposed to me, you are still saying you consider it a mistake to have proposed to me.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why I turn you down. Really?
Yeah, that's...
I mean, they're both really direct, because he was like, I did it, and I'm really happy to succeeded. Like, that was pretty direct.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
you could not have made the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. That was pretty direct.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow. But that is not merely this affair on which my dislike is founded. Long before it had taken place, my opinion of you was decided. She just keeps going and going. And like, this would have been
really
a perfect point. This would have been a perfect point for him to like get at least a couple points back by being like, look, that Wickham thing, it's not what you think. Let me tell you about that Wickham thing. Right.
But I also get like, so both the French and the Germans have a word that means the snappy comeback that comes to your mind just the instant it is too late to use it.
Yeah.
Like in French, it's the witticism of the staircase. Like, you've stormed off and you've gotten halfway up the stairs and you're like, oh, I should have said, but you can't turn around now and be like, let me tell you about that Wickham thing. Like, it's too late. You have to just walk away. Yeah. And I don't get the feeling, there's nothing that has ever shown us Mr. Darcy to be a quick on his feet, you know, thinks fast, really good with words. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that has shown us that he's exactly the opposite of that.
Right.
Which means he planned out this proposal. He's like, what's the best way to do this? Well, I'm going to start by insulting her family and her connections and her wealth.
So here's what I believe very sincerely was going in his head when he planned this out. Because you're right, he had to have planned it out carefully and like rehearsed it. I believe that what he was going for was like there's an assumption that her station in life was beneath his because of the financial gap. Like it's huge.
Right. And it is. I mean, that's not.
It absolutely
not
is
incorrect.
And it at the time it certainly would have been viewed as a little inappropriate for him to be proposing to marry her because he has nothing at all to gain from it financially or socially.
Right.
Given that, I think what he was trying to do was emphasize the strength of his feelings to her in the way that made the most sense to him, because he doesn't think about, because he's like you've been saying the whole time, like he's kind of autistic and he doesn't think about like there's no point in like,
How
you know,
that
wild
came
things like I would race to the moon and bring it down for you if I could. I would sing the stars to sleep every night so that they can whatever. I don't like
Right.
I don't know these things that don't make
Blah,
sense,
blah,
but
blah.
like none of
Right.
that's tangential. And here he's saying like, you are like the worst possible choice I could have, and I love you so much that I don't care.
Right. And I do think that's probably what he was going for. And I can totally see how in his mind that made sense.
Mhm.
But yeah. No.
Yeah. And it's like,
no.
Yeah.
Well, and then he's also got this like what do you want me to do? Could you expect me to rejoice in the inferiority of your connections?
Yeah.
And just like, okay, yeah, I get that that's how you feel, but at the same time, you still didn't have to start off that way.
Yeah. Man, that would be, oh my gosh. This scene is just so great.
It really is amazing. And just the sarcasm I mean, they're just dripping with, where's the one I highlighted from Elizabeth? Oh, it was the, I've never desired your good opinion. Like, yeah. I have always felt like I've honestly always felt like being someone you like would be kind of an insult. So I can't say that I'm much moved by having your good opinion.
Right.
And then he's and she's accusing him about Wickham, and Darcy's like, his misfortunes. Yeah, his misfortunes have been great indeed. Like, they are both so freaking sarcastic.
Yeah. Oh, I like her response, because he was like, he was like, maybe you would have been more polite to me if I had lied to you and said all of these things or whatever. And she's like, oh no. You're mistaken if you suppose that the mode of your declaration affected me in any other way than as it spared me the concern which I might have felt in refusing you had you behaved in a more gentlemanlike manner. He's like, I didn't. This is not because you. I'm not saying this because
right.
You were like direct in me. The only thing you being direct in me.
Maybe you'd have been more polite.
Yeah,
right? Maybe you'd have been more polite if I had lied to you. And she's like, oh, no. I might have felt bad about not being more polite if you had lied to me, but I would not have been more polite. That's not a thing that would have happened.
Yeah. The only thing you're being rude to me did is I don't feel guilty about this now.
Right, let's start again. I got more. You want to go again?
Yeah.
I got another round.
You could not have made the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. I think you just said that one earlier. And it's like, yes.
Like, wow.
That is direct.
Well, and then she just keeps going from the first moment of my acquaintance with you. Your manners, impressing me with the fullest belief of your arrogance, your conceit, and your selfish disdain of the feelings of others, were such as to form the groundwork of disapprobation, on which succeeding events have built so immovable dislike that I had not known you a month before I felt you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed upon to marry. She's just like, literally, from the first moment I saw you and every single event since then has built up this like raging tsunami of hell no, I will not marry you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, and here's the thing that I this is the thing that I highlighted is after he leaves, he's like, "You've said quite enough, madam. I perfectly comprehend your feelings and have now only to be ashamed for what my own have been. Forgive me for having taken up so much of your time, and accept my best wishes for your health and happiness," and leaves. And then he says, "She knew not how to support herself, and from actual weakness sat down and cried for half an hour."
That's what I would do.
Yeah. Like, and I'm just like, oh man, oh man.
And just I can just see sitting there like over and over again, like, did that actually happen? Was that real? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Like, how do you even like deal with like that? That's the sort of thing that
And
like
then
could
what?
absolutely happen in a dream. Like you just fell asleep, and
Yeah.
then like, and then you wake up and you're like you're emotionally affected because of the dream you had, and you're like, did that actually happen, or was I
Right?
because that seems like that's like so ridiculous. Like that wouldn't. It's not the kind of thing that would happen.
No, and you would wake up and you'd be like, Charlotte, I just had the craziest dream. I dreamed that Mr. Darcy proposed to me. And we could laugh about it. Like you would wake up from that dream and be like, wow, brain, okay, no more mushrooms for dinner.
Right. That's enough. That I should have thrown that cheese out instead of putting it on my salad.
Yep.
Oh man.
And yeah, no, you're just sitting there like, did that? No, okay, how do you go on and like, what do you do? What does tomorrow look like if I now live in a world where Mr. Darcy did what? Like that just has to be insane.
He actually wanted to marry me? How does what does the world like?
No, like your entire world has just been turned upside down. Like everything you thought you knew is just gone.
Like he was so proud to have saved his friend from having to live with being related to my family, and then he wanted to be related to my family?
Right? And let's be honest, Jane is really a better catch. So
yeah, like she really, really is. Like she's happy and like optimistic and like likes
cheerful
doing
and
stuff
friendly
and likes
supportive.
people and yeah.
Although to be fair, somebody who likes people is not an advantage for Mr. Darcy.
No, but like I mean, she in general, like she's more inclined to like Mr. Darcy even than Elizabeth is.
Right? Yeah, where Elizabeth is like, oh, do pardon these people, or we will be forced to think ill of someone.
Right.
And Jane's like, stop making fun of me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I also really enjoyed his statement about, I perfectly comprehend your feelings and have now only to be ashamed of what my own have been. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go home and be ashamed.
Yeah. So
I have work to do. Yeah, you can see him like writing it down on a to-do list.
To be ashamed of feelings every day for 2 months.
Right, and then he marks it off on a little calendar every time he succeeds at that.
Yeah, he's like, I was definitely ashamed of this today.
Okay, yeah, check. That's definitely the picture I have.
So the interesting thing also is that he says he's going to feel ashamed of his feelings, not of his actions.
That is also true.
Which,
that he's going to go home and he's going to be ashamed of himself. So yeah, that just to cap it all off, like he starts off his proposal with saying how bad an idea it is for him to marry her, and how unwillingly he fell in love with her. And now, having been rejected, he's going to go back and be ashamed that he ever did fall in love with her.
yeah. I think it would be really interesting, and I'm sure that some rom-com somewhere has tried to do this, to like show it from his perspective, to get the viewer to be like, no, like he really shouldn't like be in love with her. And then to get the viewer kind of behind him, and then watch him have the worst delivery ever. And they're like, oh my gosh, I know what you're saying, but you're saying it all wrong.
But still, right.
Like you're right,
I wonder
but you're
if it
wrong.
has. Oh, right. I wonder if it has, just because the rom-com is traditionally considered like a female movie, and so it's done from the perspective of the female.
Yeah.
Well, and also they're all Pride and Prejudice.
Right.
And Pride and Prejudice is told from Lizzie's point of view. So
yeah.
So when you modify it, you tell it from the heroine's point of view. I wonder if there actually has been one.
Yeah. No, like I was thinking of like My Fair Lady is I mean that one like, he's kind of a jerk until he changes.
But yeah, I mean, you mostly look at Henry Higgins, you're like, wow, he's a jerk.
Yeah. What's the one from like the 90s, I think, with like Sandra Bullock or whatever, that's basically My Fair Lady, but
Pretty Woman?
Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman. That's the one I'm thinking.
Good thing we have Aaron here.
Yeah.
I guess I have IMDb. I could look it up, but
yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know if there has been. I don't know, and I don't know who to ask. I guess I could ask my cousin.
Yeah.
I will write to Megan and inquire if she knows of any.
Oh no, it was Julia Roberts. That's why. Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. I was picturing her face right, so now I have to look up Sandra Bullock to know what she looks like. Okay, yeah, no, completely different women.
Okay, I trust you on that. Come on, Gmail.
Well,
give me my contact. There we go.
I don't know. They've got. I could see how I could get them confused. Let's see. I'm gonna put a link. I'm gonna send. How do I do this? How do I send a chat thing? I've got to be able to send a chat thing somehow. There we go. So that's one. That one's Julia Roberts, and then this is Sandra Bullock. And I think they get typecast in kind of the same sort of roles, so.
That could be.
It just goes on another list of like. There are a couple of those like women actors who I don't like. I get them confused because they do kind of the same.
They do look kind of same. They've got that. Yeah, they've got that kind of.
Like their mouths are kind of the same shape and.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Yeah, that's the. You know what? And it's interesting because going with the statement that all rom-coms are Pride and Prejudice.
Well,
Um,
some of them are Taming of the Shrew, but
well, yeah, but most of them are Pride and
basically all
yeah,
rom-coms are Pride and Prejudice.
yeah. Um, it's interesting because the one of the things that I find frustrating about rom-coms is their, to my perspective, to my experience, inaccurate portrayal of men as like fumbling
Sure,
buffoons who can never do anything right, and
sure.
and taking.
Bye. Wow.
Okay, I think I'm back, but I don't know if the
Welcome back.
I think
It thinks we're live.
does it say we're live
Mine does.
or does it say now broadcasting?
I have never had a now broadcasting thing.
Oh,
I
okay.
only have a live thing.
Okay.
I guess we could get a friend
Let
to
me
click on the live stream
let's
and see
see.
if we're going.
Yeah, I can actually view it. Okay,
Oh,
yep, we're still
wow.
broadcasting.
Brilliant. Did we broadcast a big, like, blank spot?
We might have broadcasted like a big thing. It was just you.
Oh, nice. Just everybody watching my face as I scroll through my Facebook feed.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Well, you were gone, so we can look back and be like, oh yeah, that was where I was reading that Cyanide and Happiness comic, and
Yeah.
that's where I was looking at
Yes.
my racist uncle posting an article supporting Bernie Sanders because
Oh, is that what you,
he hates Hillary Clinton more.
is that when you made this weird face? Because I just saw that.
Probably. I'm like, it's interesting the lengths he will go to discredit Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Huh. I saw
Anyway,
the
so
debate,
the
and
thing
they
you
both
hate.
like picked at each other, and then they were like, "But I totally respect you, and I think you'd make a great presidential candidate if I'm not selected." It's like,
That's you
that's
know
good that
what?
you say that. I did not get that impression from watching their debate.
Right.